What are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm just doing crunches, burn this belly fat so I could see my abs,
You know it doesn't work that way, right?
There's so many myths and misconceptions in fitness.
And if you're falling for them, you could be either wasting your precious time or worse, doing more harm than good. Today, we're going to debunk 3 of the most popular fitness myths and get you on the right track.
Welcome back to another episode of of the BFit Bros podcast. I'm Victor. That's my brother Julian, who's not allowed to introduce himself. As you guys know, we're in BFit Miami Lakes. Come train with us. We're by La Vaquita, not by any sort of garbage facility at all.
None. Zero.
Not even one. Let's get right into those myths. What do you
Let's.
got? What's our first one? All right, myth number 1, is that you can target fat loss in specific areas. So like if I want to show my abs, I just have to do more crunches, right? Naturally, that just makes sense.
And this one is so pervasive that even advanced trainees or people who should quote unquote know better still kind of fall for it.
Yeah, and the amount of times that you see that, the amount of times we have to tell people, hey, you can't spot reduce is crazy, it's staggering.
Yeah, because everyone has that thought that, okay, I have fat here. It's usually, there's main areas. There's your belly is a number 1. And then the tricep is another very common one where it's like, but look at this.
Also, this little part,
if we had a dollar,
the chichos.
If we had a dollar for every time somebody went like this to you. But
Yep.
look at this.
Anytime somebody got 2 giraffes and
And what?
fed them aggressively.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's like, it's one of those things that you don't think about too much. You just assume that, well, I'm going to do these exercises to target these muscles and this fat is going to start to go down.
Like it kind of just was one of those things that makes sense if you think about it, like from a very elementary point of view. Like,
Yeah.
I want this muscle to show, so I'm going to work out this muscle. Like that just kind of makes sense if you don't know the science.
But it's wrong.
You're wrong again.
In fact, I'd venture to say that most people train abs for the sole reason of losing the belly fat.
100%. And you'll see them do like a whole ab circuit for like 30 minutes.
Or every day or every other day.
Yeah, and we hate to break it to you, or we love to break it to you actually, because now you don't have to waste your time doing that.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, in my opinion, it's a total waste of time. Not 100%, you've got to train your abs, but maybe like 5 or 10% of what people think they should be training them.
One thing I explain to people all the time, especially with the abs, is because for some reason they're overlooked as like a regular muscle. So they want to, I'll do abs every day. And I'm like, your abs are a muscle too.
Yeah,
they
when
need
you train
rest.
your legs every day.
Exactly. They need rest. Just because you might not feel exactly the same soreness doesn't mean that you could do it every day without rest.
Especially if you like hit them properly.
Yeah, if you do anything hanging, like hanging knee raises, toes to bar, all that stuff is going to obliterate your core. Farmer's carries, you're going to feel that.
Yeah, for sure. But let's get back into the myth. So here's the simplest way that I can explain it is that you have muscle and then you have fat. There's technically fat below the muscle and above sometimes. Like you have visceral fat in your belly area too. But let's not get crazy. So there's your layer of muscle and then above it sits a layer of fat, right? Like the outer layer of fat that you can kind of feel. Those are 2 completely separate things. One does not morph into the other. It doesn't turn. It doesn't burn one into another. I don't know what these things.
That's another misconception that you just said there. That's
that muscle turns it. Fat turns into muscle. No, those are 2 completely different things. So here's the way I want you guys to think about it. You train a muscle to develop that muscle. If I train my biceps, the biceps start to get more developed. They grow. That's all muscles do. They grow or they get smaller. Now, that's a complete separate process. Then the fat that's sitting on top of it, there's no relationship there, right? How you lose that fat is the same old story of calorie deficit, burning more calories than you consume, and a combination of nutrition and some sort of exercise, right? So if you're working out properly and you're at a calorie deficit, that adipose tissue, that fat layer that sits on top starts to slowly shrink. But it has nothing to do with the fact that I trained that muscle so the fat layer on top of it is gonna start diminishing. You gotta think about them as an unrelated thing. I work out to train my muscles and I eat at a calorie deficit to start shrinking and losing the fat.
Another thing you can't neglect with something especially like the abs is genetics. Like we say it all the time, there's some people that never train their abs and you can see them clear as day. Some people go to the gym and go nuts and they'll never have those 6-pack abs. And it's like, it's just how your body's built.
Damn, way to break it to them.
It's just honest.
You gotta give them hope, man. You too can look like Chris Hemsworth.
You can have abs too. No, you've always been more inclined for your abs to show. And mine just haven't been that way. It's just the way of the world. Like, I'm sorry. Everybody gets something, or some people get everything. I guess,
but you're getting into more like how your abs are going to ultimately look once you are lean.
Yeah.
And yes, some people, you can see them at like 12% body fat, and other people have to get down to like 7.
Yeah.
So you can see like and some of them are never going to have
and
like
some
the
will just have like a
6-pack.
2-pack, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
but when it comes to like the actual myth, which is if I work out my triceps, can I burn this fat here? No, what happens is you're training your muscles, and then little by little, the way the body works is it's the same way that you gain weight. You don't choose, oh, you know what? I want all the weight on my ass. I wish, right? It's like you're gonna gain it where you're gonna gain it. When you lose weight, it happens globally. It happens all kind of together at once, and you might have like more of a problem area that might resist a little bit more. Happens to be the belly for a lot of people. But you can't really target it. It's gonna happen how it's gonna happen. So the goal basically here is to, everybody wants to get leaner, or most people want to get leaner and lose fat. The goal is to maintain muscle or gain muscle while you're losing fat through calorie deficit, mostly nutrition. And then of course the exercise plays a big role as well.
All right, let's move on.
Let's.
Myth number 2.
Deuce.
Lifting weights makes you bulky, especially if you're a woman, right?
Or does it?
Wrong.
So this one is starting to die down a little bit. You see a lot more people understanding about weight training and what it really does to the body. But still, especially to the uninitiated, lifting weights is associated with like meathead, big, bulky, sweaty dudes in a gym. Like that's just like when you think of weightlifting.
Or those women from American Gladiator.
Yeah. Just a quick tangent, but like steroids have really messed up the collective consciousness view of what, like, because really what happened in the 80s and 90s is people were juiced out of their minds, and they had these physiques that are just so unattainable that they realized, like, people were like, oh, I guess if you lift weights, that's what I would look like.
Yeah, you're gonna turn into the cover of Muscle and Fitness if you just lift some weights.
I think the average person has no idea the amount of work and discipline and 7 days a week type of dedication that it takes to be like muscular.
I was gonna say, even the people that do the steroids, they work hard as shit to
Very
get there.
hard, yeah. Not taking anything away from them.
I'm not taking anything away from them at all. I'm just saying, like, it's so difficult. Like, you guys we say it all the time, you don't slip and fall into, oh my God, I have giant biceps. Like, this is something that requires conscious, hard work.
And even if you are working really hard, like, for example, everybody that trains here at Be Fit, they train hard, and they train 4 to 5, sometimes 6 days a week of heavy weight training. And you don't really see anybody looking like, a bodybuilder, like, far from it. And it's because you have to train a very specific way and eat a very specific way to get bulky. Perfect example, I've been working out for more than 20 years. We've been working out for a very long time. And, we struggle to fill out medium shirts.
I just got to medium.
Pathetic as that is. It's true. It is what it is, It's like, do you even lift, bro?
That's why I don't wear T-shirts, guys, because then you guys will wonder if I work out.
I'm flexing the entire time.
I'm flexing ever since we started talking.
If this podcast is 45 minutes, I'm flexed for 45 minutes.
Ever since you started saying that, I've started flexing my triceps.
That's why I get my knee up.
Speaking of knee, if you guys don't know what that is, check out the past episode. Is that the last one?
Knee up with your feet up.
And I think this myth falls more towards the women listening, because, man, let's be honest, most of us want to build muscle, and we want to, man, I wish I could get like that. Women have that fear that they're going to lose their feminine physique, and that they're going to start looking like more, oh, my back's going to get broad, I'm going to have these big traps. When in reality, we know that's not the case. Especially if you have a good trainer or a good program, we know that your legs are going to look nice. You're going to look good in those heels.
You're actually going to shrink.
Yeah, your waist is going to get nice and small. You're going to have that good hourglass figure that most people want. Like, there's no cons as far as look-wise in the look department when you start lifting.
Yeah, and specifically as a woman, you have even less to worry about, because metabolically and hormonally, you're just not set up to, like, it's harder for you. It's much harder for you to gain muscle.
Especially in the upper body.
Yeah, for sure. You don't have the testosterone. You have a fraction of testosterone that men have, and other anabolic hormones. So the women that you see that are jacked, for the most part, I mean, you don't want to generalize, but for the most part, you can tell that they're using something. They're on some sort of anabolic steroid, and that's why when you see, there are telltale signs. Like, you're not just going to see the muscles, but you're going to see the jaw gets a little bit more masculine, the voice gets a little bit deeper. So yeah, I won't go into some of the other things.
No, you don't have to. I think you start seeing a lot more vascularity too and stuff like that.
Vascularity. For me, the delts are a dead giveaway. The traps, when you get those crazy traps. So yeah, like I said, the steroids have really skewed the perception, but don't fall for that. You really, I promise you, you're not going to, even by lifting weights 5-6 times a week. And the other thing is you have to eat like
an animal.
Crazy.
You have to wake up at 4 a.m. to eat
crazy.
7 eggs and shit.
Yeah, 5-6 meals a day, the Tupperware, the 200 grams of protein a day. Like, you're not gonna do that by mistake. You have to. It's a very coordinated effort to gain muscle like that. So don't worry about it.
You'll be safe.
Last thing I want to say on this is that lifting weights, as popular as it's become, I would love for just everybody to. Oh, that's
Sorry,
just a funny sight.
Sorry, I couldn't look away from that.
The last thing I want to say on this subject is that even though weight training has become a lot more popular, I hope that it only keeps becoming more and more popular because it's such an important, vital thing that everyone should be doing. And it really has not, I'm not going to say anything to do with aesthetics and how you look, but it's so much for like longevity. There's clear data on this for longevity, for metabolic health, for cognitive health, for confidence. There's so many things that lifting weights does for you. It's literally like the best anti-aging thing that you can do. And it's a shame that a lot of people still think that, well, I won't touch a weight because I'm gonna get bulky.
And on that same note, we go back to, like you said, they wouldn't touch a weight, but as we get older, especially the female population, I feel like it's essential. They start developing osteoporosis, their bone health starts going down, and they're still stuck in that mindset of not touching a weight because you're gonna look bulky. Like you said, that perception needs to be changed dramatically because there's no better anti-aging tool
You're
than
missing out.
lifting weights.
Like you're missing out on this like superpower.
Yeah, and like we
Really.
say all the time, the CEOs, the 1% of the 1% are all strength training. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Of course, because if somebody gives you hey, you can be X5 or whatever, 10 times better than what you are now.
Mentally, everything. You want to take it? Yeah, here it's working
it's like,
out.
No,
it's
I'm
like,
just gonna
shit.
not do it. No,
Yeah.
of course you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
do it. Myth number 3. If I'm not sweating enough, that means I obviously didn't get a good workout, right?
Obviously.
The amount of sweat that I let out is directly proportionate to the amount of effort that I put in, right?
Directly correlated.
Right?
So if you're climbing Mount Everest, even though it feels like you're dying, it's not hard enough.
Yeah, because I'm not
Find
sweating.
a bigger mountain.
So I have to wear something like a tracksuit or something, or
Of course.
sweatsuit to
Yeah,
sweat. Yeah, obviously if I'm not working out.
Yeah,
That's
and
wrong.
this is another one that seems obvious, right? Because you associate sweating with like I'm pushing, I'm working hard. Like, oh, look at all this sweat.
We
Like,
see some people telling each other like, man, look how much you sweat. Like, I wish. Like, why would you? Like, what? That has nothing to.
but it's one of those things where like if you don't think about it too much, it does seem almost obvious that if I am working out, especially if I'm
perceived effort,
outside,
right?
it's hot, I'm putting a lot of work in. It's like sweat equals hard work equals results. So
Yeah.
it's correlated. The sweat equals results.
And you can throw soreness into that too.
yeah,
people-
well, that's another myth. That's not
Well, we
get
can
into
just-
that, but
But yeah, we see it all the time that like people are like, man, I must not have done a good enough workout because look at me, I'm completely dry. And let's be honest, some people just don't sweat, and then there's the other side of people that sweat. They walk into a building and
Excessively.
start sweating. Let me see
yeah,
lift your armpits.
I have hyperhidrosis, so I'm one of those.
Oh, you didn't have to say that. Now I feel bad.
It's all good. But so yeah, that's a good point. And that's the variety of the sweating mechanism for different people varies so much. Some people can sweat from the easiest things or not even working out at all, just hanging out. And others, it takes a lot for them to actually
To
sweat.
just glisten a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, we see it all the time. We're like, oh my God, you're finally sweating. Like,
Yeah. And again, it's not celebrating and it's not like, oh, you're sweating.
We're just
You
surprised.
finally did a good
yeah,
job.
you sweat. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, has
All right.
nothing to do with it.
Okay, so let's talk about sweating. Sweating is literally just like imagine your body has a thermostat, and when it gets too hot, your body sweats as a form of getting rid of that excess heat because it needs to be at a certain temperature, right? So that's all sweating is. It's getting rid of water to cool itself. It's a cooling mechanism. So when you think about it like that, you stop thinking about this association with hard work, exercise. It has nothing to do with that. If you're in a hot place or if your body temperature goes up, like let's say you have a fever or something, you're going to sweat. It's your body's natural way of getting rid of that excess heat. So I feel like once you realize it, you're like, oh, sweating really has nothing to do with like exercise or anything like that,
Yeah.
even though they're related.
And it makes sense if you like just go, if we live in Miami, as we say every time, go sit outside for 20 minutes. You're
Exactly.
gonna sweat. Are you exercising? No, you're just sitting, but
Yeah.
your body's overheating. Like
Or
you just
sit in a
said.
sauna, and there are benefits of sitting in a sauna. If you want to know them, link in the description.
check out
to
that other
our
video.
heat episode.
It's pretty fire.
But yeah, if sweating was like the associated with fat loss or with working hard, why not just hop in a sauna
Go
and
to a
work
sauna,
out in there?
Wear a tracksuit. Like,
Yeah, well, people do stupid shit like that.
I mean, like if it was, I mean, like we would recommend it. We're obviously not condoning that.
Yeah. So an easy example to conceptualize is running 5 miles in like a cool, maybe high altitude place versus running 5 miles in like a hot, humid place. You're still running 5 miles. Like
Yeah.
your body is doing similar amount of work, but you're actually working harder okay, that's gonna mess people up. You're working, your body has to work harder in the heat because the body temperature is going up too high. So what that's doing is it actually can hinder your performance because I'm sure the runners or anybody that works out outside can attest to this. Try running 5 miles when it's hot and try running 5 miles when it's cool. You feel like you can run forever when it's cooler, and it's because your body can do more. So I would argue that it's actually better to work out in like neutral or kind of cool temperatures
For performance.
Like you're doing what you're working out for, which is
Yeah.
to get these adaptations out of my body. It's not about, you know, how much I'm sweating or, oh my God, I feel like I'm dying. It's like, oh, if you can only run 3 miles, but you were supposed to run 5 because it's so damn hot out there, are you really doing more work?
Yeah.
And that I think it just goes with like people thinking that harder is always better.
Yeah, which I mean sometimes it is, but that's I think that's another good way to segue into. There's a lot of gyms that don't turn on AC or don't have AC at all. They just open the doors and they'll say the excuse is like, oh, you sweat more, you work harder. You're being cheap. They're just being cheap. They don't want to pay for AC. I'm sorry. They just don't want to pay for AC.
Is that an option?
No, that's not an option. We pay for AC here. It's a nice climate control in here, climate controlled environment. I'm sorry, but all those gyms that are telling you that you're working harder because there's no AC are just bullshitting you.
Yeah, but I mean, it helps to have a clientele that falls for that crap and are
100%.
like, oh, yeah,
I'm working harder.
Okay.
I don't have to pay AC.
Yeah. Also, it breeds more bacteria, so.
Oh.
That's cleanly. Cleanly?
Clean?
That's cleanly.
Cleanly?
Cleanliness. And then the other thing about this is that people, I think, associate sweating with fat loss because you do lose weight. Like if you go outside for 2 hours and you're working out there and then you weigh yourself, like you lost weight. Congratulations,
Yeah,
you lost weight. That's what we all want, right?
I did it.
But you didn't lose fat.
Oh.
So that's the problem here is that everybody's so focused on their weight and they don't realize like what is actually going on inside the machine. You know, am I just dehydrating myself? Because if I am, then I could just drink a gallon of water and voila, I'm right back at my weight. So the idea here is to lose fat, is to work out, do the proper things that'll give you the right adaptations for the results that you want. Working out in heat or sweating excessively, it's just making your job a little bit harder. I'm not saying that it's bad, you should never do it. We're not talking about that. We're just saying that it's not a direct correlation to the results that you're gonna be getting.
Yeah, what you're trying to do with strength training and working out in general and is just improving your BMR, your metabolic rate, which is what helps you to burn fat, and that's not affected at all by sweat or heat.
It's extra stress. That's the way I'd like people to think about it.
I don't like being stressed.
Exactly. Why stress yourself more?
Why?
However, if you just relax in the sauna after your workout, that's good stress. You're not pushing your body. If you were working out in there, that'd be different. But if you're just chilling, the stress of the stress response from the heat is already enough. So again, it's like knowledge is power. Once you know these things, you go, okay, I don't have to go out there and wear the damn garbage suit.
And that's why we don't condone things like hot yoga. We've actually gone on record calling it stupid.
Yeah, hot yoga or worse, the hot HIIT class that I did, remember?
Oh my
That
God,
old
you almost
story?
died.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
What a disaster. You're slipping on your own sweat.
Slipping and sliding like crazy. It was a puddle of sweat. You're all over the place. I don't know. It was bad.
So that was just 3 of the top fitness myths. There's a lot going on out there. Don't fall for all the misinformation you read online. You see one influencer post something, fact check them. Don't just blindly follow their advice or their lead.
And this is just the first video of a series that we're going to do of just busting more myths, because there is a lot of misconceptions out there. And one of our goals with this podcast is education, giving it to you straight, whether it's information that, you know, makes you feel good or you want to hear or you don't want to hear. We're just going to tell you like it is. That's our job. So this is just the first 3 of many. So subscribe. If somebody sent you this podcast, make sure you subscribe, because we got a lot more of these coming.
And leave some in the comments. If you have some myths or something that you're unsure about, leave it in there. We'll gladly take a look at them, review them, and we might talk about it in a future episode. With that being said, we'll see you on the next BFit Bros cast
Installment of...
Blink. I got a myth for you.